I arrived in Asia the first time in '89 as a backpacker, and then I fell in love with Indonesia, and the idea was I wanted to come back to that country as close as possible. What I discovered in the course of doing a lot of community work is that the biggest thing that you can do for the community is sanitation. People suffer from sanitation, bad sanitation, and the daughter of our cook was one of them. She died because there was inadequate sanitation in the home.
Awalnya kan dia kena diare kan, sakit perut kan. Ya, mungkin karena faktor ya lingkungan rumah saya itu memang sih dulu memang kotor, kan busuk, air-air limbah, cuci piring, apa untuk macam pembuangan sampah, pembuangan kotoran kita mandi apa semua itu di bawah rumah gitu, di keliling rumah tuh memang.
We realized that this is throughout Indonesia. You know, people do not have adequate sanitation in their village homes because wastewater has nowhere to go.
So here we have a toilet with a traditional system. Basically, with this traditional system, one is that the toilet waste goes directly into the ground in the backyard. It's not contained within a tank.
Toilet water goes into a hole which is not properly closed, and all the other water goes into the garden and it creates puddles there. This leads to open air contact between contaminated water and the kitchen, and this is why people are getting sick, and diarrhea is chronic throughout Indonesia. To put it in numbers, in Indonesia 370 kids die every day because of insufficient sanitation.
The Safe Water Garden, it is basically this, I guess, mechanism that turns water that comes from toilets and taps and filters it so it can be used to grow crops.
So the Safe Water Garden has three components. It starts with the waste production. After the wastewater production, it goes into a closed septic tank. What happens in that plastic tank is bacteria go to work. Some of the bad bacteria get killed in the system, and some of the good bacteria, they go to work and they remove some of the components that you don't want to have. And the third component is the garden. The water that overflows into the garden is still very rich in nutrients. You don't want those nutrients to release untreated in the environment because they will make their way into the rivers and to the sea. And so how do you take them out? Via plants. So you put plants like banana tree and papaya trees into the garden, and they are supposed to remove the nutrients. So what you need to do is essentially you dig two holes. One of them is for the septic tank and the other hole is for the garden. So once these holes are in the ground, it's basically a Lego system.
So we built a safe water garden. Under those bricks is the pipe that has holes underneath for the water to go through to the plant.
So they connect the parts, they make sure that everything works, that the water can flow where it needs to go, and then once it's okay, they close it up.
We just had to shovel in gravel and dirt, and we basically just covered all the pipes.
And in the final step, they put the garden plants in there, and of course very important, they talk with the owner, like what kind of plants are they interested in.
It does require a lot of work, like when you have to shovel the gravel into the wheelbarrows, bring them over, put them into the hole and all the rest of it. But it is really rewarding once you see what you get in the end.
We spent a few hours working in the sun, digging and hoeing the ground to try and build the safe water garden. But knowing that this could help a family's life or even just one person's life was what kept us going.
This is our safe water garden.
We also went to several houses because they had safe water gardens for 6 months, 1 year. And so we went to see what happened to theirs, and it was actually really beautiful. This one lady we went to, she grew chili plants in her safe water garden, and they were quite rare, so she could sell 1 kilogram for $9, and that actually tripled her income.
She also has a number of plants that she actually uses in her house, like watermelon, she has papaya, and of course there's a banana plant that we planted when we first planted the safe water garden.
If you have this little garden, it turns out you have enough to grow your own chili, and you can give some to the neighbors and to your family.
Overall, it just helps break that cycle of poverty where you get sick and you can't go to work or have education.
Jadi manfaatnya lebih banyak lah daripada yang kemarin kan gitu. Jadi air resapan itu sudah menjadi apa? Pupuk ibaratnya gitu.
Oh ya, alhamdulillah ya. Kadang kan kalau lagi Dewi ada duit, nggak ada duit kan bisa nanam gunshop, sawi juga, kadang kan cabai juga. Udah 3 kali panen, alhamdulillah.
Kalau yang lama ya sistem yang lama ya banjir gitu. Mandi-mandi, kalau sekarang enggak lagi.
Kalau saya lihat kan yang sudah Lola lakukan untuk khusus wilayah Gunung Kijang ini aja sudah berapa banyak kakak, berapa banyak ratus rumah yang sudah dilakukan. Jadi intinya
we're very happy to see the response of the community. It's really good because the house doesn't smell anymore, so the social status goes up and they realize that sickness goes down. 70% of the people say that the diarrhea has stopped. And 20% of people say that the babies have no more rashes.
Okay, so the students behind me are testing the water samples out of safe water gardens. You can clearly see the difference in water quality between the two gardens, and what we're doing is measuring the positive impact of having a safe water garden.
If these people are earning more money because they're less sick, they're going to spend that money on other stuff. And then those people are going to have more money as well. And so it just keeps, it's like a domino effect, so it just keeps knocking over things and, you know, it helps everyone in a way.
We visited a school. We saw a bunch of the children. When we came to visit them, they're all smiling, which made me know that what we have all been doing has made that school that we went to, we made them smile.
So today we're about to head out to a school that we worked with last year. The goal of today really is to re-establish those relationships, spend some time with the students and do a community mapping exercise.
We're here trying to map out the community and looking for signs of lack of sanitation.
This community map that we're building up is real work. It's going to be the preliminary assessment of the area that we're going to give to LooLa so that they can do their follow-up surveys and identify households who could really benefit from this sanitation system. Last year, one of our grade 7 classes actually built a safe water garden in the school compound, so we're keen to see how that's progressing.
What do students get out of this trip? A lot.
When you're in a classroom, everything seems fictional. You don't know the reality of it unless you're actually there.
It also really gave me an insight to what the world was like, as I myself am actually quite privileged as I have a clean toilet and when I turn on the tap I actually get a lot of clean water. Seeing how this one garden can change someone's life so much just makes me feel really good, and that I want to do more of this kind of stuff. To know that you actually impacted someone's lives and helped them and maybe shared your joy with them, it feels really, really nice.
What we see is that young people deep down care about the planet. Whether they realize it or not, you know, but what this experience brings to you is you go there and you realize you've made a real impact on people's lives, and that feeling stays with you.